Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about one of the most important topic for any of the programming language, which is loop. You know that when anybody starts learning code, so they have to face a lot of problem while writing or while iterating a particular thing throughout a loop. They are not being able to understand why loop is required, and if it is required, how to initiate that. So today we are going to talk about that part in detail. First of all, before talking about the type of loops that we do have in Python, we are going to talk about why loop is required. You know, the everything which is around us, I'm not talking about the coding language, it's related to the conditions or the instructions that we provide. And let's say when we see something, if it happens, then it should be something like this then that, if that then this. So this is all about the whole thing which is there around the globe or in our surroundings. They are based on certain conditions. Loop comes into the picture when we have something and we need to do something repetitively, or you say like we have to write or do something very similar in n number of times. When we talk about the number of times, so it could be a certain number, it could be a certain statement, or it could be a certain function, it can be anything. The purpose of loop is to repeat the same, or you can say the similar code a number of times, right? So if we talk about the definition which is written here, so loop is a programming structure that repeats a sequence of instructions, as I already told you, the conditions, or you can say the instructions, until a specific condition is met. So programmers use loop to cycle through values. For example, need to add some of the numbers, you need to repeat a certain function, and it can be anything. So they are very helpful, and it reduce our errors and reduce the time of any programmer as well. So now we talk about the loops that we do have in Python. The two most common types of loops we have. First one is the for loop, and the second one is while loop. So first, we on a very layman term, we try to understand the difference between these two loops. For loop is required when you know the number of iterations. For example, in case you need to iterate a list, so you know the total number of records there in the list, you can apply a length function and you can find out the total number of records that lies into that list. So you obviously know the number of iterations. And the same thing goes with the tuple or any string set or dictionary, because we have a length function to find out the total number of records that are there in that particular sequence. So we know the number of iterations that we are going to apply. So when you know the number of iterations, we are going to use for loop. And if you don't know the number of iterations, for example, let's say I have a question, and there is one answer fixed for that particular question, and I want user to enter the answer for that question, and it should keep asking the question until and unless we don't get the same output. So we are not clear how many attempts that user will take to reply that question. It can be 5, it can be 10, or it can be any value. So we are not fixed about the number of iteration required to get that answer. In that situation, we are going to use a for loop, although we can customize the for loop as well. I'll be talking to that part in detail. So this is just the basic difference for a very initial level. If you need to understand the difference between these two, so that is, if you know the number of iterations, so you are going to choose or pick the for loop. And if you don't know the number of iterations and you need to run that loop infinity time or n number of times, so you are going to use for while loop. how and what is the syntax that I'll be covering here as well. So the first thing is the for loop. As I already conveyed, you are going to apply for loop over a sequences. Sequences are like list, tuple, dictionary, set, or a string. Any container where you have stored some data. For example, this is the syntax. Syntax first is the name of the loop that you are going to define. So we are using the for loop. You have to write for. Then the name of the variable. Here the name of the variable is similar to the temporary memory. In as a keyword which you are going to use to check that particular value in a sequence, and here goes to your sequence. Sequence can be anything, list, tuple, or dictionary, or whatever. And in that statement section, you need to apply your condition that you want to put under for loop. So let's try and let's see an example how we write for loop for a particular thing. Or let's say we have a list name as color underscore list, and this list is having multiple records, the name of the colors, and I want to iterate all the colors and print in a sequence. So if I do not have for, or I don't know, I don't have the thing to use as looping, so I have to print each and every record based on their index. First I'll be writing the 0 index, then I'll be using a print function, and then next index and the print function, and so on. So here we have only 4 records, so we can simply do that part as well. Let me do it right away just to showcase you. So this is the list, and I need to print all the records that we do have in this list. So just remove the 4 part. So how you are going to use it? Color underscore list. First you are going to print the 0 index. You have to apply a print function. Here, let me copy this so that I don't have to write it again and again. And then you have to mention the next index, and then index 2, and so on. Let me run this. Here it is. So let's say here we have only 4 records to print out. In case I have 4,000 or more than that, so I have to keep writing print and the index of each and every record every time. And for example, I have to apply certain condition in between. Then how I'll manage that part? So we will be requiring loop for that particular part. So here in loop, you can do, or you can solve that problem in a while. In few just 2 line of code can help you out to print the entire list, whether that do have 4 records or 4,000, 4 million, or whatsoever. So the syntax is for, what is I here? I is like a temporary space, or you can say the memory where you are storing records which are coming from this sequence. So for example, first time it will iterate, so we'll be having the first 0 index of this list, so the value would be 0 index is red, and next iteration we will have blue, in next iteration we will have green, and so on. So it will get printed, the entire list will get printed here using this loop. So if we talk about the tuples or any string, we can also print that as well. So here with for loop, I'll be talking about a range function which we majorly use in most of the programs. Range function, I believe you are already aware of it. If you are not, you can check my previous video. I'll share the link in the comments. Here, range function, we have 3 parameters altogether. We pass maximum 3 parameters. That means the first parameter is the initial starting point, second is the end point, and the third step is the steps that we are going to follow to reach to this destination. So in case you're using only one value in a range function, so that means it will start from 0 till the end of this position, and it will the range function exclude the last range. For example, if you have mentioned 4, so it will go till 4 minus 1. If it is n, so it will go to n minus 1. So let's say the value of a is 4, so range will go from 0 till a minus 1, which is 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3 will mention here. And if you have two arguments in or the parameters in a range function, so first is the initial point and last is the your destination. And if we have 3, so the third one is the steps that you follow, or you can say the interval as well. So here, if you want to print a specific iterative numbers or a sequence of numbers, so you can use a for loop for that part as well. So for exactly the same syntax you are going to apply. Apart from the sequence, you can use a range function here. I is not a fixed keyword. You can use any number. If I'm using any, or any is a predefined keyword, so I'll use, for example, let's say example. So I'll be printing example only here. And you run it. What is the mistake that you did? You didn't run this a equals to 4. So here it is. You can directly mention any value to this place as well. For example, I have given 5. So once you run this, it will print 0 till the n minus 1, and where n is the value which is there in that range function. So it will go 0 till 4. Next, if we have two values, so you can simply define two values in a range function. First, this part will get solved. So it starts from 4 and it will go till 7 and it will get printed like this. And if we have 3 steps or 3 parameters, so the output would be similar to this. For I in range 4 till 20 means 19 till 19 you have to iterate it, and the interval should be 4. So you see the output. It starts from 4 and the intervals is the value which is mentioned here, which is 4. In case you take interval as 2, so it will take 2 steps, starts from 4 till 19. And here it is. Starts from 4, 4 plus 2, 6, plus 2, 8, and so on. Next, you can apply for loop to the range function in the similar method. Now I'm going to iterate over a tuple. So tuple, I have used T1 as a tuple here, and I can simply apply for loop to a tuple like we did for any range function, or you can say the list. No changes at all. So this is just a very simple program to let you understand how we iterate or how we can apply for loop to any of the sequences. So here is the list I have used as an example, and this is the dictionary. And when we talk about the dictionary, there are certain changes. Let me show you those. So here I have applied for loop to the dictionary, and dictionary, you know that it's a combination of key value. So first, which is C1 here as a key, and that is the value, red is the value. So once you run this, it will get printed the entire keys. And have you noticed something here? When we are applying for loop to this list, so it is printing the values, not the index. But here we have the structure of the dictionary is the key value pair. So it will print the keys as a output when you iterate it over. In case you don't want to print keys, or let's say you want to print key and value both all together. So how you are writing your you will be writing your syntax. You will be using a items function which is already there in dictionary. What item does, it will store the key value pair and you can extract them using an index. Here what I did, I have applied for loop to this dictionary. Color is the name of my dictionary, and then I have used the items function so that I can get the items from that dictionary. And when we say items, it's a combination of key and value, and it will get stored to I, and from I we can extract key as a 0 index and value as a 1 index. So let me run this and you see this is the output. And for example, you just want the keys only, so you You can write it like this. And in case you want only values, so you can write it like this. You can print the 1 index, not the 0, 1. Here it is. Simple. We have another option to print the value as well. I'll show you. So let me fix it like this only. We are going to print key and value both all together. Now, in case you want to print the values, so we can use a values function as well. You directly apply values to this list and you just get it printed. Here it is. So you can use this way or this way. Here you need to remove this 0 index, only the 1 index should be required in case you need to print values, or in case you need only keys, so you can use items there as well. Only you will be using 0 index to print the output. So you can apply any of them as per your convenience. Now, in case you need to loop out the string, yes, we can do that. So, you know, in a string, every character is holding a different position. Here in test, we have four position, which starts from T. The first record of that string, which is T, or you can say the character of this string. T is at 0 index, E is at 1, and then S is at 2, and T is at 3 index. So it will print all the index like this. So you can iterate over any string using for loop. Now, for example, in between, when you are using a for loop, you want to apply a different condition as well. Once for loop will get executed, then the next statement, or you can say the next block you want to execute. So for example, you can use else function for that. Here it is. Once this part will get executed, then it will move to the else, and we will be printing the output which is mentioned there in else block. So you can use else with for as well. For example, I have given a very basic exercise here. You can try it. Display a message done after the successful execution of the loop. I believe you would be able to solve that. Next, I have used a different use case here. Using a loop, use a loop to display element from a given list which are present at even position. You remember, for the even position, we have double colons, not for the even position. For any step or any position, in case you want to extract, you will be using a double colon in index parenthesis. So here, the same I did. This is my list, and I have iterate over this list. But how? I have started from 1, and then every second element I have extracted from there, not the entire element. In case you want to extract every third, you need to define 3 in place of 2. Here it is. So, but I needed even position, so I'll be using 2 here. And why I have used AND here? Let me remove and showcase you the difference. Here it is. This one. So sometime it happens that I require that output as a list. So I'll be using AND to just to change the look and feel of that output that which we get from using for loop. So here it is. I believe you are clear with those double colons as well. Double colon we use for the interval, you can say the position that we want to extract. So the starting position is 0, 1 basically. And why I have started from 1? I could have started from 0 as well. So which is okay. You can start from 0 as well. Like this. So it will start from 10 and every second from 10. Here it is. It will take 30 and then 50 and then 70 and then 90. That's it. So it's up to, in case I want to start from second position. So it will go to the second index, which is 0, 1, 2. It will start from 30 and print the every second number from 30. Here is the output. You can validate that as well. So this is the use of double colons. You can apply it for anywhere, not in the for loop only. Now I'll be talking a bit about the break statement. So break statement is like, in case you want to break your for loop at a specific position or in between, so you can use a break statement for that part. So let me run this first and I'll show you. This is the for loop and we have initiated this, and in between we have break that, and you see that else has not been executed because we have already break into the for loop, so it will not get executed. Thus as now I have used a very simple example. This example is, there is a list, you need to iterate it and display numbers which are divisible by 5. So we have to use apply a condition, the number which is divisible by 5, that should be there. And the next thing is, if you find number greater than 150 anywhere in the state when you are iterating that particular list, so you should stop the iteration. So we have the condition, I mean you have to use a break statement. So here is the list, we have mentioned the list, and then we have used the for loop, and in that for loop I have mentioned my condition that if item is greater than 150, so it should break. And the next thing that we need to do in this loop is we have to apply a condition where the number should be divisible by 5. So we have used item percentile 5, that should be equal to 0, mean remainder should be 0, then only that number will be completely divisible by 5. And we have printed all the items which are there in that list 1. So here it is. And you see we have started from 15 because 12 was not the divisible. And then once we reach 150, we stopped out. Fine. So in case we mention 155 here, here, and let me run this code and you see the output. It has only printed this value because 32 is not divisible, 42 is not divisible, and we cannot go beyond 150. I hope it is clear to you now. So you can change the condition and you can apply it by your end just to check how this particular syntax, or you can say the code, is working. Now we move on to the different very basic example that we solve using a for loop. Let's say we have a list and I want to reverse the entire list. So how I'll be doing that? You know, we have a very handy function range. Using range, you can do that. So I have used these 3 parameters that we do have in range function as a start, stop, and step. How I want to do? First, I'll print the list. I'll take the length of the list and then I decrement that, and stop is the second argument that we are going to use in range function. The value of stop I have given -1 because it will run till the n-1 of your ending position. You know, it starts from here and stop here. Let's say you have given 5 here, so it will go till f5 -1. So I have given -1 here already. So I just want to iterate it till 0. Next step, how I want to move ahead. So I have decremented those steps in case I am at 50. So I want to decrement it and I want to move to the previous one, which is 40, and then to the previous one, which is 30, and so on. And then I get it printed. So here it is, you can see this, how this works. For loop will go to the range function and the start which you have given as the length of this list, and you decremented that, and then the stop is -1. So it will start from this and it will go till this, and the step that this loop will follow will be the reverse step. It will start from 50, then reverse, it will go to this, then this, then this, and so on. You can apply the same thing to any of the string as well. I have just given you the example. This is as a small task. Take any word as input from user and print that as reverse. So let's say the input is hello, you need to get that printed like this, the reverse of this particular string. I hope you would be able to do that. Next is you need to display -10 to -1 using for loop. So this is just a very basic exercise. Just want to check that how you are comfortable with the looping that we discussed here. So these are few examples that we use for a for loop, for the very basic one. For into the next videos, I'll be covering some complex examples as well. Now we talk a bit about while loop. As while loop, we execute. This is the definition. First, let me go through with that one. While loop is used to execute a block or statement repeatedly until a given condition is satisfied. So, as I already conveyed, that while loop, we can, for example, in case the example that I have given you in this, when I started, let's say we have a fixed answer for a particular question, and until and unless we don't get the desired output, we keep asking that question. So in that situation, we are going to apply while loop, because we don't know the in which iteration I'll be getting that output. So I have to initiate that block to ask questions. So it will be coming using while loop only. So the syntax of while is the while, the expression that you are going to use, and the statement that you include in that while loop. So I'm going to use example. Here I have a list and I want to pop all the elements of a list until it get empty. So I have applied a variable which is a, you should already define a variable when you're going to execute a while loop. And what you want to print, I want to print a dot pop. So what is pop? Pop is a predefined function for a list, which is list specific, which removes the last element. So once you run this, you will see that it has popped all the items starts from 4, because it removes the last one. So in first iteration, it will remove this one and you get printed here. And in the next iteration, this will be the last element. So it will print this one, then this, then this, and this. Until unless we have the empty list, it will be moving on. So in case you add some more items to this list, so it is start from hello, because pop will remove the last element, and then this one. And for example, I have added something here as well. Let's say hi. So you'll see that hi will be the last popped item. Here it is. So this is the very simple example of while loop. Now let's say you want to apply a certain condition. For example, there is a number variable which is 2, and you want to print that value until you get the output less than 6, until the value of your variable is less than 6. So I have mentioned I have to initiate in I have already mentioned that thing here in note. Remember to increment I, or else the loop will continue forever. And the while loop require relevant variable to be ready. You should already define your variables that you are going to use in while loop. So in this example, we need to define an indexing variable, so which is I, so which we set to 1. I have changed that part as 2. You can check, you can have any value here. So I have initiated as 1, and I want to start from 1 till it is less than 6. So the I should be printed in every value which is start from 1 till 6, it will be printed. And I want to increment this. So you can write the incrementation like this. The syntax can be like this as well. And you can write like this as well. I plus 0, 1. You want to increment I as a one step, or you can write it like this as well, I plus 1. So let me run this. So here it is. In case you are starting from 2, so it will start from 2 only. Here it is. And you can increase or decrease this value too. Here it is. And let me comment this and run this as well, so that you understand that this is going to be work like the previous syntax only. Here it is. Starts from 2 less than 5, and here is the output. Next example we are going to use for a for loop where we have initiated from 0, should be less than 4 and incremented like this. We can decrement as well. I'll be covering those example too. So you print, and you can print any particular, you can display any particular message as well. While you are starting from this counter and you are going till this, you want to print this hello statement. So here is it is. You can use this too. So for example, you need to use else statement under while. So the same that we did for, we can apply in while as well. Once while loop will get executed and we are done with that part or that block, so else statement will be executed and display that value that we have given into else statement. So here you see that I have initiated my variable from I is a variable and the value of I is 1. So I want to print all the values till I met this condition. Once I'm done with this part, then else should be executed. Let me run this. Here it is. So this is the else block that we have executed once we are done with this while block. Next, for example, this is the decremented loop that I have used. So in case you have decremented, so you have to give the maximum value to your variable, and I have given 10 to this num variable, and the condition I'm going to apply until you have the value greater than 6, the loop should be executed. And how this will be executed? In a decremental way, not the incremented one, because the variable is greater than your condition. So the 10 is the value of a variable and you want to decrement this until we met value greater than 6. Once we get that value, it should stop and it will go to the else statement. So I have used num minus 1. You can write it like num minus equals to 1 as well. And this is your print statement. And you see, here it is. For example, I have given that value as 20. And this one is, let's say, 5. And I want to use 2 steps altogether. So you can write it like this as well. So these decremented and incremented value, you can also increase or decrease. You can give any value here. Let's say I'm giving 4. So it will be 4 steps starting from this position in a decremented way. I hope it's clear to you. Next, we are going to use example as like you need to take 10 integer from the end user using loop and print their average value on the screen. So when you have this problem statement, first you need to think that how many variables I require to initiate this program. I need two variables. One is where I'm going to store the average of the values, and one is the iterations, the total number of iteration, because I need 10 integer values. So 10 time I need to iterate, not less than this or not more than this. So I have that variable as well because I have a fixed value. So I have used two variable, which is total. You can give any name to this. And I have given 0. Why I have given 0 to this? Because I want to calculate the average. In case I'll give any value to this, it will be added to my average. So I just want to state from 0. Anything you add to 0, it will be that value only. And it will, if you give 1, so it will not the correct way to solve this problem. So now I have applied a while condition until and unless I give the value of I is greater than 0. You need to execute this part. You need to get entry from the end user, and then you need to total all need to add all the entries to the total variable, and the value of I should be decremented. You know why? Because we have started from 10 and we need to reach till this position. So we will be having a reverse step. So I have decremented that. And then we have calculated the average, which is the total, and you have divided that the number of total records, which is 10. So let me run this. It will get the first entry. any value till we get total 10 records, it will be executed. So let me count those. You can also count those. Here it is. So there are total 10 numbers, and then it has displayed the average of those numbers. You can calculate and check it out from your end, and you can change any value to just modify that program. That's it. So that's it for the day, and I'll be coming up with some complex samples of question samples for the looping as well. So meanwhile you check those, and in case you find any problem, you come to you can feel free to write in the comment box. I'll try to answer you as soon as possible. Thank